Hello, welcome to Soul Priorities. My name is Tuaca Kelly, and I'm enjoying living in the moment, being spontaneous, and the creative MacGyver-like moves. If you know that reference, the MacGyver show from the 80s. He was a character that was able to solve all sorts of problems, any situation, by what he had available to him. And this is kind of inspiring, though it's a fictional character, just that way of approaching life is inspiring. And I myself say, use what you have available. And my guests tonight have employed that doctrine as they join us on Soul Priorities in the Google Hangout. Their computer crashed, the browser crashed, but they pulled up the iPhone and they taped it to a pod. And welcome, ingenious ones with many talents, Lisa Goettel and Jocelyn Gordon.
Hi, Tuaca.
Hi there.
It's wonderful to see you. I hope everybody else can see you also on a screen this big. But I appreciate you coming today. I'm excited to hang out with you and to talk about your womanness, your work, your life purpose, and how the two of you collaborate, your personalities, your ideas, and what it is that you give to community together. Lisa, tell the world about your love. I know that you grew up in a musical home, got your degree in music. Your camera just went out, but keep on talking.
Okay.
Because we have, for all the people who aren't watching, we have many, many people listening.
Okay, great.
Great. We just got the low battery challenge now.
You got the low battery. All right. So it's incidental, but you know the image vacillates from being out of focus to in focus. But anyway.
Thanks for bearing with us. I'll talk fast. So yes, I was born to an opera singer, and was surrounded by a very musical household, so I feel very blessed having that privilege, because I do believe that our musical relationships begin even before we're born. My mom was performing actively when I was in utero, and so I really, music, singing is a vibration, and it's absolutely palpable physically, and of course, the most palpable, right, where the lungs, the throat chakra, and the diaphragm are. And so I just hung out there next to my mom's diaphragm for 9 months while she sang. and I suppose it must have passed the blood barrier, because it's really, I consider music my first language and my greatest joy. And I myself went down a very performance-oriented path with music for many years. I was a vocal performance major in college, but there was a certain point at which I recognized an aspect of joylessness in my relationship, and so I took a break, and I came back to it from a very different angle, and that is with no performance orientation whatsoever. And what is it to just find what my heart wants to express and create opportunities to do that, not only by myself but in community. That's where I've experienced the most profound gifts of singing, was in community, because this remarkable magic happens. This oxytocin is released, and this incredible wordless bond is instantly and intimately established so quickly. And so my life purpose is really now moved in that direction of how can I cultivate more and more opportunities for everyone on the planet to experience that.
Beautiful, and the recognition of, if you're in utero and it's essentially in concert with your mother as she's performing opera music, and that's so much a part of your culture, and that you find your own movement toward music, even that came from yourself. There may be some expectations, that you'll find your own, or that you'll kind of like follow in the same vein, or an amalgamation of that. But the recognition of the joy that I once experienced, if I ever did, isn't really happening in something I love. Mm-hmm. And to taking a break, as you put it, to check it out and explore what that was. In the focus of community and the context of relationships and being one voice, have you discovered something new in terms of performing or performance when that isn't specifically your goal?
Yeah, that's actually, I love that actually. And the way that I differentiate that and talk about that with my groups that I sing with now is, I know I've banished the word performing from my vocabulary. I feel culturally we're so performance oriented, and by doing that, to me, the definition, the orientation of performance is very ego-based. It's a look at me. And there are people that are born performers, and that's great. And we love them. We love to watch them do what they love, but most of us aren't. However, 100% of us are born expressors and are born sharers. Hello. And so I differentiate performance with sharing. And I invite people to imagine that the very first quote-unquote performance that ever happened in a cave thousands of years ago somewhere happened because somebody was so full of something that came from within that they had to share it. And so for me, I've really started, and it's a constant, I think it'll be a lifelong practice of shifting when I'm in a quote-unquote performance situation where I am singing and people are watching, to shift the relationship of I'm on stage and everybody's watching me to I'm so full, I can't wait to share what I have and infect everybody around me. It's a different orientation, and it's actually kind of a cure for terrible nerves.
Yes. Yes, great. And that's something I just want to echo again for everybody tuning in double entendre there, tuning in, that is a way for them to connect, where you can be fully present, and it not being about you, but through you, in relationship to holding space for everybody else being present.
Yes.
And those multidimensional aspects of relationship. And what's also joyous, Lisa and I, we've known each other for going on 10 years, so this is another conversation we get to have, and I'm introduced also with community to Jocelyn Gordon, so this is our first time meeting, but I've been checking you out.
That's funny.
Like, I saw a video today, I thought, I want to see you do your thing, and you're there with a hula hoop stretched out behind you in your warm-up exercise, and you said, I call this angel wings. The way your arms are spread out like that. And for sure I like the name of that. And you hail from DC, and you discovered a hula hoop, and you created so much with that, not just the exercise hoop or fitness, but a community hoop. So talk to me about how did you walk into this circle and raise it as a halo to connect with others?
Oh, that's a lovely offering and question. Thank you. Well, like Lisa, my passion or my connection to dance has been forever, pretty much. And for me, it's my primary identifier. I identify as a dancer. And my life is the dance, and relationships are about the dance, and dance is my direct connection to spirit and to the self with a capital S. So for me, it's all about the dance, and it's been a lifelong passion of integrating different modalities into that, such as yoga therapy and massage therapy, all dances, and intuitive offerings, and prayer, primarily movement and prayer. So in 2008, already fully immersed in teaching and training others and sharing the movement healing arts, I came upon some hooping on the internet on page 8 of Google one night. So it was probably 2 a.m. and I was like in just like the droop, lull, whatever of like internet interaction. And for some reason I was on page 8 and saw this beautiful woman hooping in her backyard and playing music, and I just had a visceral reaction and started crying, and I felt, this is my people, these are my people. And when I received the hoop, it incorporated everything that I had loved. So that night I purchased everything I could about hoop dance, contemporary adult hoop dance. And there wasn't much, and there's still not at this point. It's very emerging in the field of modern movement.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got my hoop, I just got it. But that's because I had had such a long somatic history. And when the hoop was moving around my body, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a massage. Wow. When I started thinking about what I was going to buy, my grocery list, the hoop just dropped. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a biofeedback tool that lets me know where I am in the moment. Wow, that is so cool. And then my mind would also, I'd be allowed to daydream, which is totally different, which I feel is a lost art for adults. It's been like beaten out of us in like institutionalized education that you're drifting, you can't. But anyway, daydreaming is very healthy, and I'd have all these ideas, and it was different than thinking. It was a big freedom. So then I started playing with the hoop and stretching with it, and I had a 3-hour practice pretty much every day for 2 years. That was completely organic and just something I wanted to do. And that led to opportunity. My career totally exploded. I started traveling around the world teaching and training other adults how to lead hoop dance experiences for other people. So I was just like, wow, this is super profound, the power of the hoop. It's wild. So there's full innovation with the hoop. Lots of modalities are emerging. It's empty and full at the same time. And because of that, I was able to incorporate yoga, hoop dance, mindfulness, meditation, my own practices into an offering called Hoop Yogini that teaches or offers people to be centered in the root of their personal experience. So I specifically say rooted in the center of your personal universe, the still point. And then the hoop represents all the dynamic changes, and we move within that still point amongst the changes. So that's one expression.
Wow, beautiful. And I really like the hula hoop as a biofeedback device. That's really, really hip. And in terms of traveling around the world, you have dowsing rods and other tools. Well, maybe you don't, but some do. But the hula hoop, in terms of traveling around the world, I know the two of you have a really ecstatic event coming up that we'll talk about in a little bit. There's something you said there about you seeing, doing some surfing on the internet and seeing your people, seeing the hula hoop and seeing your people and being moved by that and following your emotion, your intuition to pursue that. As you've developed the work and met your people and met yourself in that community, what are some of the populations that have been attracted to your work? Like, what are the surprises in that? Like, I thought my hula hoop would be for these people, but it turns out these people are showing up,
I like that a lot. Thank you. Well, in addition to the hoop, the hoop is an entree to a larger conversation, which I call ecstatic embodiment, and which Lisa and I co-facilitate so beautifully. And one of those offerings is called Bhakti Boogie Yoga. So that's without the hoop, and that's exploring life coaching on the dance floor through conscious movement. So, but the hoop being this benign entree to inviting that kind of dialogue, because it's so friendly, it's so comfortable, there's nostalgia with it. It's not that serious, but it is very deep. So right now, what I'm so appreciating is that the teacher training is drawing physical therapists, oncology nurses, principals, and high-level educators are coming to be trained in Hoop Yogini. So that I'm fascinated by that and so appreciative because it is a therapeutic modality. Also, primarily women between the ages of 30 and 60 are coming to the practice. Women who feel they don't feel sensual or they're afraid of their sensuality. So the hoop is a very safe space to explore our sexuality and sensuality in our own personal container. And there's a very natural boundary, so people can't get into that boundary really unless you invite them. Mm-hmm. So again, it's a safe container for expressing oneself, and that's also what Lisa and I create, is a safe container for expressing oneself.
Yeah, great. So Lisa, this is for both of you. In terms of those surprises and who comes up, the idea of like men and like some mythology around that, and what are the things that you've discovered with the men that have shown up in your workshops, in your groups, or some of the beliefs that you have witnessed them shattering, or beliefs you had that by their presence kind of opened up your own concept?
Yeah. Well, I, first of all, feel extraordinary appreciation for the men that come and find our and my work. In particular because it does tend to attract a majority female audience and participant ratio. And I noticed that not just with singing and dancing, but with most personal transformational work that I've personally experienced, and I've done a lot. I am on the
charger too.
Do you have video? Let me just ask a technical question, interrupt for a moment. Do you have us on video or just audio?
I have you on video and audio, and so does everybody else tuning in on the Google Hangout.
You're good at an impromptu tour of my home. We can plug in the phone.
and everybody on YouTube. So, MacGyver, women power.
Hooray.
It's get her done.
We're charging.
Yes.
Hooray. Can you see us?
From one action-oriented woman to two other action-oriented women, it's just get it done.
And it's kind of appropriate that it fell on the men question, because I find that women are stepping. The movement that I see in our generation is of women stepping into their masculine empowerment, and for men to step into.
Now, wait a minute. What is that? What is masculine empowerment for a woman?
So, well, obviously, everything a woman does and embodies is inherently feminine, and empowerment, has often been associated with a certain masculinity. But what I was referencing is the cultural support that men have enjoyed for centuries to stake their claim in the world and to express their soul's desire in a very out loud way. Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, how I would define that. And I see that the movement of our time is for women to step into that ownership and that loud and proud stakeholder mentality in owning, their power. And what I see in the men that keep becoming more and more attracted to personal transformational work, and the ones that I see in particular in my singing circles, are stepping into an acceptance of their vulnerability and their social ease with finding expression of that vulnerability. And I see that as being major work for a lot of men. And I'm so just profoundly touched, and I feel very privileged to be witness to these amazing men that keep finding us and saying, I'm recognizing a need for embodying my feminine aspects and allowing my own self-expression to run free. And I recognize the cultural stigmas in place for men to step, into that space. And so, like I said, I feel extremely honored and privileged to witness it.
Beautiful. Jocelyn, men jumping in your hoop.
That sounds funny. Well,
hoop as in community, my dear. Hoop is in the functional apparatus.
The men who are involved in the hooping community are
wordplay.
I know. I'm like, well, there's a few ways I can answer that question. But actually, in the larger circle of hoop community and my personal life, I am actively healing my relationships with men and the masculine energy. And I find myself actively in several circles where I'm becoming more aware of the emotional lives of men. And that was something I've asked for to the universe, and I really needed to see that reality. A couple of years ago, I had the realization, men are people too. Oh, they have feelings. So anyway, that's my stuff. But so in the larger aspect of hoop community relationship, that's showing up strongly. In the hoop community, we have a small group of very beloved men, and they are amongst the most empowered, embodied women. Like, the hoop community is so sensuously strong and so inclusive and inviting. So with that, there's some really strong embodied men, or men who want to go through that process of embodiment, who are brought in, or who are feeling more comfortable there, and they're in the wow phase. Wow. But they're not in like a grasping phase, and they're being like very respectful. Just be in the company of that presence. And what Lisa was saying, I heard, be all that you can be, as like a predominant male mantra that society has provided. And women are having that opportunity as well, more so, to be great, to express their greatness in the home and as entrepreneurs and teachers and leaders.
Yeah, I hear that. Be all you can be. And then all of that reflecting transformation in terms of, there's the physical aspect and an expressive aspect, but there's also this social flow, kind of the different context in the other stream, and how are people connecting with each other, in this context, and how to take that out into the world with their expressiveness, with their ease of move, and these different boundaries. So bring the men, bring the women, bring the children, bring the grandmothers, the grandfathers, to join the sacred hula hoop and song in community. I recognize you both as community innovators, as much as you have these particular modalities or things that you're implementing, with song and music. And I'd love to get a sample, Lisa, before we leave today. But I really see that as being community innovation, and that's one of the things I'm really excited to connect with you about. You have coming up 10 days, not 9, not 5, not 4, not 2, but 10 days in Bali. Bali High. Will haunt you. Retreat, the two of you, Jocelyn Gordon, Lisa Goettel, ecstatic embodiment, hoop yoga, meditation, singing, food, warm weather. I'm ready for warm weather.
Yes. Me too.
How can everybody register? Say Tuaca. I saw Tuaca and Lisa and Jocelyn, and I want to come. And where do they go?
They go to danceandsinginbali.com, of course.
Of course.
And that will take them to Jocelyn's site, which details all the information about the retreat. And we call it a retreat, to remember to treat ourselves, not as a bonus or a would be nice, but as critical to our soul's well-being.
Yes.
As an aspect of treat is not the thing that gets left off, and we have to keep earning and keep earning and keep earning, but is fundamental to our health. And,
yes.
And so, my experience with that is that, culturally that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, especially, we're in such a striving period of time, where all of us are trying to do more with less, and trying to fill every moment of our time with the activity that will reward us with the most money, with the most, whatever goals we have. And yet the art of stillness, and the art of reflection, and the art of celebration is so critical, and that we actually more than ever have to make conscious space for that, and treat ourselves with great care every year, and regularly in our daily lives, portions of every day, portions of every week, portions of every year, and that training is easier to do when done in community, and when done with focused intention and over an intensive period, which is why we do this. We have a 10-day period where we can retrain our souls to remember what our natural expression is, because ultimately that will fuel everything we do in quote-unquote real life. Yes,
beautiful. And not approaching, I like how you make the distinction with treat, that it's not it's not on a system of reward, which is many Westerners in particular are kind of sensitive to or indoctrinated by. But in terms of, I like how you put that it's critical, that nourishment is critical, that being still is critical, that community and tuning in is critical. And one of my own, tenets is celebrate every accomplishment. My grandfather would say, I woke up breathing every day.
Yeah.
I woke up breathing, celebrate every accomplishment. So day of sessions, I wrote a chapter in my book, I did the dishes, my laundry is done. I get excited about all of it. All of it is, measures of accomplishment, of progress, of purpose, and that purpose is service, and that purpose is nourishment.
Yes, and that's why Bali is such a perfect place for it. Because I find immersing oneself in that culture is so helpful. It's so different than Europe or the U.S. experience. My first day in Bali, I looked at this sweet woman, and we went out to dinner, and I said, already I feel Bali teaching me contentment. The culture there inhabits an ease.
Woo, I feel that.
The people just inhabit a natural, obviously this is a great generalization, but honestly I did keep track. one Balinese person in my entire experience there didn't return a smile.
I think I remember.
Wow.
One ever. And it was very striking how different it was from the kind of protected quality that I experience most people as in my realms where I've grown and been raised and live mostly now. But in Bali, there was a more fluid, just peaceful interest in the recognition of perfection in every moment.
Yeah. Wow, contentment, beautiful. I hear that. I would say another generalization, Americans know how to party, Europeans know how to relax, and now I'm learning that the Balinese know contentment.
Yeah. And
Generalizations.
I would say also that they're a big gift that they offer is about expression and devotion. They know how to pray. So the whole eat, pray, love, or love, and the integration of life. Like every home, sometimes going to a home, it's like, wait, is this a household? Is this a temple? Because the aesthetics are so specifically chosen, like the mosaics and the door frame and the offerings outside. And every step that you take, there's some beauty. There's immense beauty. So it's so integrative of beauty, of devotion, of shadow. Shadow is a big aspect there. There's the light and the dark. It's not like in our culture, it's all about the light. In Bali, there's an acknowledgement of polarity, of lesser qualities or aspects that we do want to ascend, but they also exist as well in harmony. So it's a lot about harmonization, and it's really profound that way.
And with that harmony and these aspects that you're talking about, and tuning in to the motif and the intention behind it as you're doing your work, how do you feel your soul is informing your purpose? How do you feel you are listening to your wisdom in service to humanity, Jocelyn?
While in Bali or in general?
Everywhere, every moment. In your work, in your life, right now?
Well, I really appreciate that question. One, because our retreat is called Coming Home, and it's about. And although this retreat's not very hoop centered, in the sense of we really won't have that much time in the hoop. We'll be doing some non-hoop centered movement explorations. However, that center point is always there. So my personal journey right now is to recalibrate to the center, to the still point, and to do that as often as and frequently and as swiftly as I can, that's the point with the most ease. Because often when I'm involved, that's where the suffering happens, because there's an identification with all the involvement and the trouble or the challenge or the issue. So recalibrating to the center is what we're calling coming home. And to find that still point, that place of ease, to then be able to address all of the dynamic changes. So that's currently how I'm expressing my path and how Lisa and I are feeling aligned to share. And my prayer, my whole life, or ever since I started consciously praying, is Spirit, what is my purpose? What did I come here to do? And that was not very altruistic in growing up. That was pretty much like, this place is weird. What do I need to do to leave? Because I'm going to do it. So I can go wherever home was. I didn't identify with home being here as when I came in. And then over the years, instead of leaving, it's been about embodying and inhabiting. And wow, Earth is an amazing place to be. This is so awesome. Now, like, I don't want to leave yet. I want to fulfill my purpose and I want to be here fully. This is such a powerful experience. So that desire to be in the connection with self and source and to live my passion for, it's gone from not being altruistic to having maybe a bigger understanding or a deeper understanding of bodhisattva. Because for a while, too, I was like, why would anyone want to vow to keep coming back until everyone was liberated? Why would anyone do that? Do what you got to do and get out of here. And so I feel more like, oh, because freedom is for everyone. And when you have a taste of it, it's not, there's no way it can be selfish and contained. It can only be shared. And it's really beautiful to help to share our experiences in a way that's accessible. We're just very accessible people, just living our daily lives, trying to be in that still point every day as much as we can, and loving and giving and being and receiving. So, yeah.
Lisa Goettel, thank you.
Yes.
Got excited.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And Lisa, how do you feel your soul is informing your purpose?
Thank you. Well, it's a constant process of refinement. Obviously, it's I hesitate to even give a firm answer. My answer is always to that question, I just know it when I know it. And my experience of myself when I teach is of allowing. Yeah. And that is the experience that I want to invoke in everybody, because it's the very best feeling in the world.
Yeah, beautiful. I know it when I know it. So everyone listening and tuning in, remember to tune into the vocabulary that's happening in your own system.
Yeah.
Developing your intuition. I know it when I know it. Recognizing that and making the movement for it. Lisa did that, and now she's going around the world, bringing community together. Jocelyn recognized her people when she was watching YouTube and a hula hoop. She recognized that. She followed that recognition, her intuition, her knowing, coming in to create community. The two of them found each other and are growing in that context together. So remember to tune in and grow your own vocabulary. Lisa, will you gift us with one of your songs?
I will be most happy to.
Before everybody goes to join you in Bali,
yes.
Tell me the website one more time.
Dance and sing in Bali.com.
In Bali. How efficient. I love that. I'm a fan of efficiency.
Yes.
Lisa, you've been to my house. You know my organization.
I do.
You read my emails. I'm a fan of efficiency. So yes, please gift us with one of your own, please.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Before I start, I'd like to just say really briefly, my interest and my personal mission is to make community singing a part of our daily lives again. Ubiquitously, in all cultures, in our modern heart, allow the community expression of singing together to be natural and relevant and regular and frequent and a constant source of well-being for all of us. And so in that interest, I'm recognizing a need for a new repertoire of oral tradition in our modern lives, that it's very important to remember the songs of our elders. It's incredible. Jocelyn used wonderful words. We were talking about it earlier, being seed gatherers, right? We need to seed gatherers to remember and to keep the songs and to keep teaching the songs. And yet I identify more my purpose with starting whole new genres, creating whole new repertoire that doesn't exist yet, but is absolutely born of and relevant to the modern heart. And in that vein, because I want these to travel by oral tradition, requiring no training whatsoever, that my rule is it has to be learnable in 5 minutes or less.
All right.
With no accompaniment.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we can all learn this. And as you're describing this, I just want to say the modern spiritual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's what evokes. It's just the modern spiritual.
Yes.
So here we go on Soul Priorities. Break it down. I'd sing with you, but the
I expect you all to sing. I don't sing to perform. I sing to be sung with. So
that is understood. And if the microphone was dual directional, we could sing together. But if one of us talks,
yes, no, everybody listening, I want you singing at home.
All right, everybody listening, singing out loud at home.
Out loud.
I will be singing here.
I hear you. I feel you. Okay, it goes like this. You can go, go, go down to the river. Go, go, go away with the tide. You can go, go, go down to the river. Wash away my pride.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
I want to underscore, because this is so important. If we're going to create this repertoire.
Wait. I know we're live, but I got to ask for silence right now. I'm appreciating that.
Thank you.
Don't just let it.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Give everybody a moment to breathe that medicine, to imbibe that medicine. Thank you, Lisa Goettel.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you, beautiful women. Parting words for this visit.
Thank
Either
you.
of you. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I really
right.
want to acknowledge you, Tuaca, and your gifts, your presence, your integrity, your choices of questions, of words, and your very being. So in great gratitude to you, for you, with you. And as I started to say too soon, as you recognized, I just want to part with sharing that song was written in 30 seconds while I was on my commute in my car. And that if we're going to really create a culture who plays together, who dances together, who sings together, it can't rely on performers. It can't rely on a small number of people who are songwriters. We have to be the songwriters, the dancers, the singers we were all born to be. Every child sings, every child dances, every child creates and has a form of natural expression. So that's my invitation to everybody, always, who I come in contact with and who may be listening today, to write your own songs and to share them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Blessings to you, women. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy Bali. Have a great time. You can find out more about Jocelyn Gordon on her incredible website. You have an awesome web designer, by the way. And Lisa Goettel. In terms of connecting with you directly, they can go to, is it Bird Sings?
TheBirdSings.com. My site, yes.
All right. And visit you. Okay.
Jocelyn's at JocelynGordon.com.
Yeah, great. Beautiful. Thank you so much, and we'll see you. We'll see you in the multidimensional realms.
See you. Peace and love. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.